There's a strange kind of suffering that comes not from pain, but from gripping too tightly the things that were never ours to hold. Have you ever tried to hold water in your hands? You scoop it up, a moment of triumph, and then as you close your fingers around it, you realize it's slipping through the cracks. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it runs away. That, my dear friend, is what happens when we try to control life, when we try to possess what was only meant to pass through us. Love, time, youth, the opinion of others, even the idea of who we are. You see, there's something deeply ironic about the human condition. We imagine ourselves as captains steering the ship of our destiny, but the sea doesn't ask for our permission to storm. The wind doesn't check our coordinates, and yet we insist on holding the wheel, clenching our teeth, pretending that control is the same thing as safety. But what if safety was never found in control at all? What if the very act of control, of forcing, managing, guarding, was the source of our deepest fear? When I was a boy, I used to watch the river near my home in England. I'd throw a stick in just to see how it moved. Sometimes it would swirl, sometimes it would vanish beneath a rock, sometimes it would rush forward as if knowing exactly where it needed to go. And I realized, no matter how much I wished to direct that stick, to push it this way or that, it would go where the river went. Life in its quiet and stubborn way is much the same. It doesn't ask us for approval before it changes course. It doesn't pause to consult our plans before it takes away what we thought was certain. You see, control is an illusion dressed in the costume of competence. We build calendars, routines, systems, and we imagine that by arranging the furniture of our existence, we have mastered the architecture of fate. But the truth, the uncomfortable, liberating truth, is that life was never ours to control, only to dance with. We have been taught from the beginning, take charge, be responsible. And yes, there is beauty in action, but not when it comes from fear. Not when it's a desperate attempt to keep the world still so that we can feel still inside. Trying to control what was never yours is like trying to command the tide to return your footprints. It doesn't work, and yet we try. We try to control our partners because we fear their freedom. We try to control time because we fear the inevitable. We try to control our own minds and end up exhausting ourselves in a war against our thoughts. The universe does not respond to command. It responds to cooperation. You can't make the wind blow your way, but you can adjust your sails. And this is where the paradox begins to turn in upon itself. Because when you stop trying to control, something miraculous happens. The very thing you were chasing begins to appear naturally. Peace, clarity, love, they flow in once you stop damming the river. You see, control is resistance, and resistance is tension, but surrender, is not defeat. It's the recognition that the ocean has always been carrying you, whether you kick or not. Think for a moment of breathing. When you try to control your breath, to manage each inhale and exhale, you quickly feel suffocated. But when you simply let the body breathe, you realize it always knew how you are being breathed. And that is the secret hidden in plain sight. You are being lived. The sun rises, your heart beats, the stars explode and die, all without your permission. Life does not wait for your management. It is your management. So to live fully is not to control the dance, but to join it. And yet we are afraid of letting go because we've been told that without control we will fall apart. But what if falling apart is exactly what must happen before you truly come together? The seed must crack for the tree to grow. The wave must collapse for the ocean to reveal itself. And you too must lose what was never yours to discover what was always you. Imagine this. You're standing on a mountain, watching clouds drift below you. One by one, they shift, reshape, dissolve. Now, point to the moment. A cloud ends. You can't, can you? Because what we call an end is only the cloud changing form, like vapor returning to air. So it is with control. The moment you stop clutching at the illusion, you see that everything you feared losing was never gone. It simply transformed. And perhaps that's what life has been trying to show us all along. That love, beauty, even loss, they were never ours to possess, only ours to witness. When you grasp at the sky, you close your hand around nothing, but open your palm, and the sky rests gently upon it. This is the quiet, luminous wisdom hidden in surrender. It is not the cowardice of apathy, but the courage of trust. Trust that life knows how to unfold itself. Trust that the river knows where to go, even when you cannot see beyond the next bend. And when you begin to trust that, when you begin to release the need to steer, a profound calm arises, like the stillness at the center of a storm. That stillness was never created. It was merely revealed the moment you stopped trying to control what was never yours. There's a peculiar madness in the way we play this game of control. We pretend quite convincingly that we are the doers, that each motion, each decision is our own deliberate act. And yet, have you ever watched yourself make a choice? Truly watched. You find that the thought appears, the feeling stirs, the action follows. And then only afterward, you take credit for it. You say, I decided. But what really happened? A thought arose out of the mysterious depths of your mind, out of the countless conditions that shaped you. Your parents, your childhood, the weather, the breakfast you ate that morning. The you that claims control is only the echo of something that has already moved. It's like the ripples that follow a stone cast into water. The ripples do not cause the splash, they are its aftermath. And yet, we spend our lives trying to rearrange the ripples, as though that will change where the stone has fallen. This is the great illusion of the separate self. The belief that you are a little mind inside a body, pushing the universe around with your willpower. But have you noticed, the more you try to push, the more life pushes back? You tighten your grip on the wheel, but the road turns anyway. You plan every hour of your day, and then the rain comes, the traffic, the unexpected call, reminding you that the script was never yours to write. It's almost as though life enjoys teasing us with this illusion, as though the game of control was built into the fabric of our forgetting. For what would be the point of awakening? If we had never been asleep, what would be the joy of surrender? If we had never believed we were holding on? So perhaps, in a strange cosmic joke, the universe disguises itself as you and me, pretending to be divided so that it can rediscover its own unity through the act of letting go. Now, people sometimes hear the word letting go and mistake it for giving up. But there's a vast difference between the two. Giving up is despair. Letting go is freedom. Giving up says nothing matters. Letting go says everything flows. You see, when you drop your need to control, you don't lose life, you gain it. You begin to notice the subtle music playing in every moment. The breath, the silence between sounds, the way light moves across a wall, the way your heart sinks to the rhythm of the world. Once I watched a Zen monk rake the sand in a temple garden, each line, each curve deliberate and soft. I asked him, "Why do you smooth the lines again every morning, only to see them disturbed by the wind each night?" He smiled and said, "The wind rakes too." And in that moment I understood. He wasn't trying to preserve the garden from the wind. He was dancing with it. His art was not control, it was participation. To live beautifully is not to manage the world, but to move with it. But here's where it gets subtle, because letting go is not something you can do. You cannot try to let go, for the very effort to let go is still a form of control. It's like saying, "I will now relax." You cannot will relaxation, then you can only notice that tension serves no purpose and release it naturally. So the art is not to let go deliberately, but to see so clearly that there was never anything to hold when that realization dawns. Not as an idea, but as an experience. It feels as though a weight has lifted that you didn't even know you were carrying. You see, control is born from fear. Fear of death, fear of uncertainty, fear of losing what we think defines us. But the paradox of fear is that it makes real the very thing it resists. The more you fear loss, the more you suffer in attachment. The more you fear failure, the tighter you cling to the illusion of perfection. And all the while, a great current of life moves beneath your feet, waiting for you to stop fighting it. Imagine a leaf floating down a stream. If it resists the current, it only spins in circles, caught in little whirlpools of its own making. But when it stops resisting, when it simply allows itself to be carried, it travels farther than it ever could by force. Now imagine that the leaf suddenly realizes it is the stream. That's the awakening we speak of, the recognition that what you are was never separate from what you were trying to control. The separate self, that anxious little voice that says, "My life, my time, my way," is a convenient fiction, but costume the universe wears to play at being human. But beneath the mask, you are the very movement of life itself. You are not the one holding on to the river. And once that dawns on you, once you see it not as philosophy but as felt reality, control becomes unnecessary, because how can you control what you already are? The wind does not need to push itself. The flame does not need to command its own burning. And you, dear listener, do not need to manage the unfolding of existence. You are it. The danger of control, then, is not merely frustration, then it's alienation. It separates you from life, creates the illusion of me versus it. But life is not happening to you, it's happening as you. And when you surrender to that, when you stop arguing with the tide, you discover a deeper form of control, not domination but harmony. The control of the dancer, not the soldier. The control of the artist, not the tyrant. The kind of control that comes from being utterly one with what is. And perhaps this is the great secret that sages and mystics have whispered across time. The only way to truly have life is to stop trying to own it. For what was never yours cannot be taken from you, and what was always yours was never apart from you to begin with. There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, when you realize that the world does not need your supervision. It continues on, without your constant commentary, without your anxious protection. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. The mind, which has been coiled tight like a fist, begins to unfurl. The air returns, and you see that life was never something to be managed, but to be met. It's as if all your life you've been holding your breath, trying to keep the tide of existence from washing you away, only to discover you are the tide. The fear of losing control was only the fear of losing the illusion of control. And when that illusion dissolves, what remains is not chaos, but an exquisite order that has always been there. Look at the trees for a moment. They don't argue with the wind. When the storm comes, they bow, and by bowing, they survive. But we humans, so proud of our cleverness, we resist. We brace ourselves against the inevitable, believing that strength means stiffness. Yet the tree teaches us a different kind of power. The power of flexibility, of surrender, of grace. To bend is not to break, it is to move with life instead of against it. So many of us spend years chasing the fantasy of certainty. That the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect plan, believing that if we could just line up all the pieces, then we'd finally be safe. But safety is not found in control. Safety is found in trust. Trust is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the willingness to live with it. And that willingness, that open-armed acceptance of the unpredictable, is what turns fear into wonder. You see, every moment is new, utterly unrepeatable, and yet most of us are never really here for it. We're too busy trying to predict, to anticipate, to secure the next thing. We live like someone watching a sunset through a camera lens, worried about getting the perfect shot, while the sky quietly burns itself into beauty unnoticed. The moment you stop trying to capture life, you begin to see it. This perhaps is the greatest revelation of all. That everything you ever sought is already happening right now. You were looking for peace, while peace was the space in which your search arose. You were seeking love, while love was the very awareness seeking. Like a fish swimming through water, asking, where is the ocean? You have always been immersed in it. Now, when this truth begins to dawn upon you, there is first a kind of trembling for the ego. That imaginary controller starts to lose its ground. It feels as if you are dying, because in a way you are. Not physically, but psychologically. The small self, the one that clings and resists, begins to dissolve. And though it may feel like death, it is actually a return to life as it truly is, spontaneous and free. Think of a drop of water falling from a leaf into the pond below. For an instant, it trembles in the air, terrified of losing its form. But the moment it touches the surface, it realizes it was never separate. That is the moment of awakening, the moment when the illusion of control is swallowed by the truth of unity. And from that moment on, life becomes a kind of dance. Not one you lead, not one you follow, but one you are. Each movement, each breath, each rise and fall, it is all choreographed by something far beyond your thinking mind. You can feel it when you laugh without reason, when you cry at beauty, when you lose yourself in music. In those moments, you are not controlling life. You are being lived by it. And that, my friend, is what freedom truly is. Freedom is not doing whatever you please. Freedom is being at peace with whatever is. When you no longer demand that life obey you, you find that life and you were never two to begin with. This is the great reversal, the turning inside out of everything you thought you knew. You discover that surrender is not a loss of power. It is the discovery of real power, the power of alignment, the effortless flow of being in tune with the pulse of existence itself. Now, this may sound poetic, perhaps even mystical, but it is not abstract. It's as simple as breathing, as natural as the beating of your heart. To live without trying to control is to live in rhythm with your own nature. You see, even your struggles to control, your fears, your attachments, they too are part of the dance. Even resistance is included in the harmony of the whole. You cannot fall out of life. You can only forget that you're part of it. And so, the invitation is not to escape the struggle, but to awaken within it, to see the struggle itself as the movement of life, learning to recognize itself. When you stop holding on, you don't lose your identity. We discover its true source. The self that was clinging was only the shadow. What remains is the light. And in that light, you begin to see the miraculous ordinariness of everything. A leaf trembling in sunlight, a stranger's laughter, the way the air smells after rain. Life becomes intimate again. Not something to manage, but something to love. So perhaps the danger of control was never that it failed, but that it succeeded too well. Why? That it cut us off from the very mystery that makes existence worth living. To control is to flatten the world into certainty. To let go is to rediscover wonder. And when you live from that wonder, when you allow the dance to move through you, you realize that the only thing you ever needed to control was your belief that you had to. There is a stillness beneath all movement, a silence beneath every sound. And when you cease the endless attempt to control, you begin to hear it, not as a thought, but as a deep hum that was always there, like the quiet resonance between notes in a song. It is the silence that breathes you, the stillness that listens before the mind speaks, the awareness that was never yours, but has been watching through your eyes all along. When you stop grasping at life, life begins to reveal itself, not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a lover, infinitely patient, infinitely tender. You begin to see that everything you ever fought against was never outside of you. It was your own resistance reflected back like waves striking the shore and calling it hostile. And when you stop striking, when you stop naming the water as good or bad, it becomes calm again. You begin to sense that control was never the key to peace. Attention was the soft, curious gaze that looks upon this moment without judgment, without agenda. Just this, just being here. Imagine yourself now sitting at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves rise and fall, their rhythm both wild and perfectly ordered. Each crest breaks into foam and dissolves again into the sea. You notice that every wave has its own personality, its height, its form, its brief, beautiful existence. And yet, not a single one is separate from the water. So it is with you. You are a wave upon the infinite ocean of being, and every fear of control, every need to possess, to fix, to direct, comes from forgetting that. For how can a wave command the sea? And why should it want to? It is already of the sea. It is the sea. When you understand this, not merely as an idea, but as a living truth that you feel in your bones, the game of control dissolves by itself. No effort is needed, no spiritual technique. You simply see through the illusion, and the grip releases. You realize that even your attempts to surrender were just another form of control, the mind trying to plan its own letting go. But letting go cannot be planned. It happens the way laughter happens, when you finally see the absurdity of trying to manage the infinite. And then the laughter comes. Soft at first, then deeper, rippling through your being like wind through trees. You laugh because you realize that there was never anything to control, and never anyone outside the flow to do the controlling. Look again at the world, the play of light through leaves, the breath entering and leaving your chest, the faces of strangers passing by. Can you feel it? That subtle current that moves through it all, that's life, not yours, not mine, but the single life that moves through everything. And when you no longer resist it, it begins to live you more. You become like a flute in the hands of the wind, letting the song of existence play through you without interference. You act, but not from anxiety. You speak, but not from fear. You love not to possess, but because love itself has no reason. It's what the universe is doing through you. Many people hear this and ask, if I stop controlling, would my life fall apart? But your life has been falling apart from the moment it began, and that's what makes it so beautiful. Everything changes, everything passes, and that constant falling apart is what allows the new to arise. Trying to hold it all together is like trying to freeze a flame. You kill its light by trying to keep it, so let it dance, let everything come, and let everything go, for that is what it means to be alive. When you sit quietly and stop resisting what is, you begin to sense the peace that was never gone, the peace beneath the noise of thought, the peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It is not a peace you earn, it's the peace you uncover when you stop trying to control the storm. Because the storm was never outside of you, it was the movement of your own mind. And the moment you stop fighting it, you find that it was only wind, and the sky behind it was always clear. So now perhaps you can look at your life with gentler eyes. The mistakes, the regrets, the missed chances, then they were not errors, but waves moving as they must. The people you lost, the dreams that faded, the plans that dissolved, they were never yours to keep. They were gifts on loan from the universe, returning home when their time was done. And what remains, what has always remained is this, the quiet presence that has been here through it all. That which watched your childhood, your triumphs and heartbreaks, the turning of seasons, unchanged, unpossessed, unpossessable. You're not the you that worries or strives, but the witnessing awareness that cannot be grasped, because it is the one doing the grasping. So take a breath, feel the air move in, feel it move out. There's nothing to fix, nothing to hold, nothing to control, just this moment, this vast breathing moment that contains the entire universe. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it whisper, I was never yours to control, but I have always been yours to love. Let the words fall away now. Let silence speak its truth. The river of life moves on, and you are already flowing with it. There's nothing more to do, nothing more to become, only to be. Less softly, effortlessly, like sunlight resting on the surface of water. And if this understanding finds a home in you, don't rush to explain it. Don't make it into a philosophy, just live it. Live with the calmness of someone who has stopped trying to direct the wind. Because when you do, you become the stillness at the heart of the storm. Now, you become the peace that others feel when they're near you. And without saying a word, you remind the world that it was never meant to be controlled, only embraced. If this message has touched something quiet within you, give it a moment to breathe. Sit with it. Let it ripple through the spaces where control used to live. And if it lingers, if it speaks to you in the pauses of your day, share it. Not for me, not even for yourself, but for whoever out there is still holding too tightly to what was never theirs. They too might be ready to remember that nothing real can be lost, and nothing unreal was ever yours to keep.